How about them Cowboys? It's the Cowboys Squad, sponsored by Game Time. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
All right, it is great to be with you, and the NFL schedule is set to be released in full on Wednesday, but look what we found out today. The Cowboys are going to be playing in the NFL season opener, the kickoff game, Thursday night, September 4th in Philadelphia against, I hate to say it, the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. All right, in the meantime, here we go. The Locked On Cowboys Squad Show continues. As always, a big welcome to the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Landon McCool, and my co-host on the in-season Cowboys postcast, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Guys, welcome to both of you. Welcome to all of you that are already jumping in via the comment crew section. Love you guys. We want to hear from you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up on today's show, we're going to Monday Night Football. We're doing Monday Night Squad Show tonight. The very latest with the Cowboys. More reaction on the big trade for George Pickens, and we will try to keep up with the Jones, literally, specifically, Stephen Jones, who's making the rounds with a bunch of different things that I want to hit on. But before we start, guys, I'm sorry. We've got breaking news as we're recording this right now via the NBA. The Dallas Mavericks have won the NBA draft lottery, the Cooper Flag draft lottery, the number one pick. They've never had a number one pick before, but the Mavs beat out the Spurs and will have the first pick in the draft.
My phone is literally blowing up right now with people going, rigged. It's rigged. It's got to be rigged. I mean, you talk about a scenario where you hang your rear end off the side of a moving boat and crap in a swinging jug. You can't even make that stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, just nuts. I came into the room to get ready pre-show, and you dropped the news on me, Jeff. And you know, I'm not a big basketball guy. I'm not a big NBA guy, but I grew up in Dallas, and so I'm you know, by proxy a Mavericks fan. And listen, I'm of a certain age that, you know, I remember the terrible Mavericks, you know, like the 80s Mavericks, you know, and I remember bad Dallas Mavericks. For those teams to go, you know, all those years, you know, and to get through that, and then finally for there to be a lottery and all the bad teams that the Mavericks had, and for those teams still to never have gotten the number one overall pick, and then for what what the Mavericks fans have been through in the last, you know, I would say 4 months, right? I mean, to call it a roller coaster, I cover the Cowboys, for God's sakes. And to call this a roller coaster would be to completely undersell the emotional ride that Mavs fans have been on. I just want to wave a happy hello to them as they're hitting the top right now, and make sure they put their hands up before it starts to go back down again. So congrats, Mavs fans. That really is exciting.
It's something you couldn't make it up, and then
honestly,
and now it's, you know, in the town where we may have had the biggest conspiracy, JFK. They're still selling. They're still selling the little newspapers out there. There's no way this guy shoots out of that book depository and bop bop bop. Hey man, this is now it's Patrick Dumont and. How do you rig one of those ping pong balls to go up in there?
I'm gonna start selling Conspiracy T-shirts.
There you go.
Soon.
There you go.
Trademark right here on the show, guys.
I like
here
it.
you go. So
I like it.
Yeah, just totally nuts, honestly.
Well, little shameless plug. In addition to the Cowboys postcast and the Squad Show, I am blessed to be able to do the Mavs postcast, and you're right, it was an unbelievable roller coaster. I've never, you know, I've been blessed to cover the league for 35 years. I've never gone through anything like that ever. And so I think you both hit on a couple of things while we were talking before the show about, connecting dots, and Coach, just the way things kind of worked out the way that they did, and TV. And I mean, if you're a conspiracy theorist, I'll put it this way. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you got a lot of red meat.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
If you're a conspiracy person, hey, they're toasting it up. They're fixing to go drink till the world looks flat. They are relative right now.
What a time to be alive, as the kids say. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Amen. All right. Well,
sure.
I wonder, that's real quick before we move on. Just a quick serious note. That's one thing I do. And I mean this sincerely. One thing I love about the NFL. It's hard to tank, right? I mean, you can't tank like we've seen in other leagues or other organizations. And I don't want to get on a whole other tirade, because I do the Rangers postcast as well. But I mean, I'm sorry, at least with the NFL, for the most part, there are, some organizations that are they just can't help themselves, it seems like. But by and large, you feel like everybody has a chance to rebuild pretty quickly and to turn things around and be competitive, and has a chance to win and get better. Whereas, I mean, in baseball, you have, 10 teams with payroll, and then you've got a whole bunch of other teams that don't even spend a third of that on their players. So anyway, I'm rambling here, but point is, I think that's what makes the NFL so great.
Well, Jeff, I don't know what time we go off of this tonight, but I think it's around 7:30. But I'll make sure and call Tom Lee, because I think you need to be doing the Savannah Bananas postgame.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, you know what? They're pretty popular right now.
Hey, I guarantee you. I mean, they sold out. I'm watching them last night. They sold out the Tennessee Titans, 80-something thousand. Sold it out.
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot of people for that. Seriously. But it just shows, I mean, people want to have fun, they want to be entertained, they want to have a good time, and they want to see a good product on the field, right?
And I'm telling you that they're getting it done. We've talked about everything that's Cowboys. Let's get going in
Let's go. Okay.
Speaking of good products on the field, we're going to see what's going to happen that Thursday in September in Philadelphia. That's a tough lineup for a new team, or a team with a new head coach. I guess the NFL just doesn't believe in learning curves for new head coaches. Unfortunately, they put it on hard mode for them. Unfortunately,
what's interesting is you say that, but I'm telling you right now, in Philadelphia, if you don't think that they're wondering how's Dallas going to line up. Well, there's no tape on any of these people out there. I mean, how are we going to start making any cut-ups about? What's the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go get a bunch of Bears defense, right? The offensive guy, you're going to go get a bunch of Bears defense, and you're going to go start looking at that. But I mean, that's apples and oranges, right? All you're looking at is scheme there, and then you don't have any idea offensively what's going to happen. I mean, I think if there was ever a surprise element in a game, I mean, this is certainly the game that you could look at and say, hey, you think Dallas has been thrown a curveball? I mean, Philadelphia is the same way. They don't have any idea what they're going to get.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's certainly, we're sitting here kidding about how tough it is to play the Super Bowl champs the first game afterwards, but there are certainly advantages for the Cowboys, specifically because of all the turnover at the coaching staff. Like you said, the schematic aspect of it is really difficult. And I think you're right. Like it's easy for us to say that, they can go and watch Chicago defensive tape and get an idea of what Matt Eberflus wants to do. They can even go back and watch Indy tape and maybe even some old, early aughts, 2000, mid 2010s Cowboys tape to see, what the kind of things that he likes. But it's not the same thing, as certainly as what the Cowboys are going to get watching some of the offensive cut-ups of the Eagles, the defensive, obviously keeping the same defensive coordinator. I don't know that the offense is going to change very much from what it was last year. I don't know why it would. So I think, the Cowboys are going in with pretty open eyes about who they're facing. And I think the Eagles aren't getting the same benefit of the doubt there. I think the Eagles are going to have some questions about exactly, I think that they're going to know, obviously, hey, maybe that CeeDee Lamb should be double covered, or, we should watch out for that Micah Parsons fella. But I think as far as, the means in which everything's going to be deployed, there's going to be some question marks, and it may be only a half of football that you get an advantage there, but any advantage against a team like that is going to make a difference.
So I'll go back to what you said on the radio today. They haven't seen Mozzie Smith, brother. They haven't seen him yet.
Unleashed, finally, right? Is that what we're going for?
I've said it before on this show. I'm from the Casey Kasem school, brother. I used to sit and listen to the American Top 40. I'll keep my feet in the ground and reach for the stars all day long.
I love it. I'm with you.
Well,
I'm hoping for the best there.
I was genuinely, when I got that news this morning, I was really fired up for a couple reasons. I mean, the fact that the Cowboys are in that game, I think, is huge. Opening up in Philly, big deal. And I know the Cowboys were 7-10 last season, and different looks and coaches and personnel and everything. But we forget they were 5-3 on the road. And I'll tell you what, I'm big on the coach, and you're a coach. I love the mental, the guys getting up for certain things. And I love the idea of this new look, kind of us against the world. We're going to prove the doubters wrong. Cowboys squad opening up in that game with a massive chip on their shoulder. And I just think it's a perfect opportunity, if they handle their business, to really start the season well. And because you guys know, I mean, you can go back to this season or that, it doesn't matter. It's all about this season. What happened last season, the year before, no matter what we try to, well, what about this? It doesn't matter. They got to do it this year. You got to win these games this year. And teams that get off to a good start, it really, gives you a boost. Well,
and I mean, I agree with that. Then you go in there and get the brakes beat off of you. It can get ugly too.
That's right. Sure.
There's two sides of that. But Jeff, I have an appreciation for you. You and Landon today on the radio, you guys are glass half full guys. I like that.
Listen, so sometimes when they fill that glass up, it doesn't quite make it up to the midline, and you gotta kind of imagine that a little bit to get it over the 50%. I think
either that or they look at you and give you the child's portion, one of the two.
That's right. They shrink your glass a little bit. I tend to think that there are positive and negatives to this thing, but I kind of feel like there isn't a lot for the Cowboys to lose here. If no one's going to expect them. They're 7-point underdogs right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that spread will change, as we get closer and closer, because they'll find out more and more about our team, and we'll find out more about Philadelphia. But I mean, really, unless, short of going in there and getting beat by 40 points, like if they go in there and play Philadelphia to a tight game on the road, I'm going to feel pretty good about how this team looks, for the first game of the Brian Schottenheimer era. But and if they go in there and win, of course no one in Dallas will ever stop talking about these guys. So I do think that there is some expectations game to it, in the sense that look, we're walking into the Lions Den. There's no denying that. And I'm of the belief, and I believe this too about the playoffs and some of the seeding and stuff, is if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and you can't be afraid of like going into these places and try to play these guys. So, it's good measuring stick early in the season for exactly how together this Schottenheimer group is and where they have to be. And if they get beaten, then they get beaten. And now you at least know where you are in the kind of hierarchy in the division in the NFL.
Well, and you got something to point to right off the bat. It isn't like, it's just not like you're just playing an average team. You're going to go in, you're going to go in and play the defending Super Bowl champion. And that, if that doesn't motivate you to get it done this off season, in every single way, I'd be willing to bet you there's bulletin board material out there right now pointing to getting on that flight and trying to touch down over that dirty Schuylkill River that you got to go over.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the environment right now. I mean, can you just even imagine? I mean, they're going to be, I don't know if they're going to be handing out rings, but I'm assuming they will be. And that crowd is going to be absolute. I mean, I got a couple of Eagles fans, despite, my best efforts, that are friends of mine. And man, every single one of them were texting me going, when are we getting flights? When are we going to this game? I mean, so yeah, I can imagine they're fired up. I know I am.
Yeah, I mean, the banner will be up for sure. So it will be absolutely electric. And coach, from a literally a coaching standpoint, it becomes, how do you kind of keep your new look team under wraps? I mean, you're not going to play your starters, I would think, during the preseason, right? And I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but I mean, you're going to try to keep that under wraps, but then also you want to play some of the new guys. So what do you keep it kind of vanilla during the preseason games?
I think you're going to, I really do. I think this is one of those scenarios where I want to see some things different. I want to see some different, I want to see, we talked about this. I want to see some difference in how you practice. I want to see some difference in what you do from a short yardage goal line standpoint. I want to see some of the things that if you're going to instill a certain amount of toughness in your football team, if you're going to instill a certain amount of and pardon my French, shit in your neck, you've got to start with, how you go about every single day. And it will be interesting to see because, Marty Schottenheimer was that way. His dad was that way. He was a no nonsense, get after you. We're going to be physical in what we do. We're going to line up. And I can see part of that being some of what Brian is going to do. And I do think that the Cowboys, when you look at how they have just gone about, and again, I'm here to give Jerry credit because I think it would have been easy to, kick his rear end and then not to do much from a free agency standpoint. Hey, they've pushed all in here and they're ready to, he's ready to go see if he can get this team in a position to win. And I think there's something to be said and some kudos to be given out to Jerry and Steven for saying, hey, we're taking a chance here. You're taking a chance on Pickens. You really are. That's a heck of a, you can say, well, you can get rid of him a year, whatever. You're taking a heck of a chance on a guy like that. And so I like what they're doing. And it certainly feels, it has a better feel now than it did 2 weeks ago.
All right. That is a perfect segue, perfect opportunity to take our first time out. And then when we come back, speaking of George Pickens, Stephen Jones talked about the Cowboys' new addition. And Landon, we haven't really heard from you, your thoughts on the trade. So why don't we do both of those when we come back? Also, we have some people weighing in via the comment section. Please jump in. We want you to be a part of the show and let you give your thoughts, share your opinions. That's what we're here for. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, if you ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go between dining out, online, shopping, and entertainment, it's very easy to lose track. It goes really quick. That's where Monarch money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Now, Monarch Money is not just some kind of a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and I save more, and they have all-in-one convenience, which is really cool. Like if you're trying to juggle multiple apps, like I'm going to check this account or check this trade or whatever, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. And they have really easy collaboration as well. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Okay, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. The coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, Landon McCool, the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. I am Jeff Biggs. Happy to be with you. We're going to get to your comments coming up in just a bit. But speaking of comments, Stephen Jones, the Cowboys executive VP, did a radio appearance on Sirius XM and talking about the Cowboys' new addition, George Pickens, who they acquired from the Steelers. Jones says that they think the Cowboys think of Pickens as more than a 2 wide receiver. Jones said, quote, he's just a dynamic receiver. Everybody says we're looking for a 2. I mean, George can be a 1. He's got that type of talent. He's got unbelievable ball tracking ability. He's got plenty of juice, and he's a fiery competitor. And we love that. He plays with an edge, and we think he'd be a good fit for our team. So, Landon, let's get your thoughts. We haven't talked to you since this deal went down.
I'm a big fan of this deal. You know, I mean, I think that we talked about what we did talk about is the potential of this deal going down. You know,
yes.
and the potential of them, you know, making a trade to, you know, change their kind of fortunes at wide receiver. And I feel, you know, one thing that I think I'm pretty sure we talked about on this show, but I certainly have talked about on numerous shows, is that there was no way to get out of this cleanly. Right? Like there was no situation that you were going to actually improve the wide receiver room in a significant way and get a wide receiver 2 or anything where there wasn't going to be some kind of wart, whether it be the compensation that you're going to have to give this guy, the trade compensation, the fit, like meaning the on the field football fit, the off the field football fit, the in the locker room fit. Like every one of these situations that we examined, whether it was the potential for trading for DJ Moore or the signing of Amari Cooper or the signing of who else? Keenan Allen was another name that was being thrown around, and Rashad Bateman was another name that it came out a little bit later was a guy that the Cowboys had called for. Every single one of these situations had some kind of work to it, and to me, the Pickens one was the most appropriate for the you got the most bang for your buck, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, like the issues that he has are pretty serious. Like obviously enough that this guy was a 24-year-old, you know, wide receiver 1 type player that was available for trade. Like that sends that alone is its own kind of red flag. And I think that there's something to that idea and how he acts in the locker room and how he acts if he's not getting the ball, you know, the way he wants it, or how he acts when he plays a cornerback who's playing him too physically. You know, these are all things that the Cowboys fans have to concern themselves with. But at the same time, what they got in return was an explosive playmaker, a guy that can be a number 1 for an offense if you need him to be. And I think that was one of the real kind of sneaky prerequisites the Cowboys really needed to have is they needed their number 2 to be someone that if CeeDee Lamb had to come out of the game, that they could still operate this offense. And then the other big aspect that I think that was being lost in this is the Cowboys needed a deep threat that Dak was actually going to throw the ball to, right? Because I think some of the names that we saw being thrown out there were, you know, some of the smaller, speedy guys, which Dak just hasn't thrown a deep ball to. We had Brandon Cooks in here, and for how long? And it just didn't feel like the 9 routes ever got going. He ran. We talked about he ran a lot of deep crossers. He ran deep routes, but as far as like, you know, going up the sideline and spreading out a defense and attacking the sideline and making the defense have to think about who the deepest man is going on the field, like there wasn't a ton of that. And so I think that this is a guy who on the field does all the things that you were he checks all the boxes for all the things that you were looking for in this wide receiver 2 situation. And all the issues that you may have with the player are how he fits, how he handles his business, getting his butt on the plane, like those kind of things. But when he's on the field and he's right, there's no problem with the fit. There's no problem with the talent. You're feeling extraordinary about the fit and about the talent.
I go back to when they traded for Charles Haley, because a lot of these same issues, were with Charles. It wasn't
good call.
It wasn't when he put his hand in the ground, would he go sack the quarterback? It was the things that were off the field. Was he going to be on time? Who knows when he's going to spin off? And just, he could in 5 seconds make a sailor blush with all. I mean, he was that way. And then, once I was around Charles, I loved it. I really did. And he came in and he fit in. Did he do some things that were crazy? Hell yeah, he did. But everybody, you knew that with what he did that was just, off the wall and crazy, you knew he was going to do something to trump that on Sunday. And you knew it was going to be every Sunday. And I think a lot of that is in this young man's personality. He's a wild card, and he gets frustrated, and you can tell off the field he's got some edge to him. But I go back and I think about the quarterbacks that he's played with, and he's played with, some just very, very average quarterbacks, and you have to bet on the fact that you've given $60 million here to this guy. And you know what? I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying it, Bud. The pressure's on Dak. You got all the weapons now. You got everything you need. Now it's on you to go play and go show that you're a $60 million man.
I'll just throw in too. Like I think, and I think Steven mentioned this as well. This offense and this team, it needs more edge. Right? Like I like, having some I love the idea of having a team full of captains and guys that are going to show up on time and do everything correctly. That's what you want the base of your team, but you also need those crazy dudes. You need the Cowboys needed Charles Haley to win the Super Bowl.
Let me ask you this. You think a bunch of good guys and sweet people and nice guys and team captains are going to go into Philadelphia and get it done? You better have some rotten. I'm going to grit my teeth. You better have you some shit in your neck, because I'm going to tell you something. They're not pulling off. They're going to challenge you in every way they can challenge you. And that was the thing so many people didn't understand about, Michael Irvin, and they didn't understand. Darren Woodson was a great guy. Darren Woodson and knock your head off. And we had guys like that across the team that were. It wasn't that they weren't good guys or they wouldn't. They weren't stand-up people. But let me tell you something. You get them in a dogfight. I'll promise you. Eric Williams had an H2 Hummer. You know how hot it gets in Dallas? The damn Viet Cong don't live around here. It's so hot. And let me tell you something. He dipped snuff every day, and he spit in the floorboard of that H2. And I'm telling you, and he'd just soon whip your ass as he would look at you. And so you got to have some of that. I'll never forget. I'm going to tell you one story. I'll never forget. It's my first game of the Cowboys. And we come out Monday Night Football to play the Giants. And we come, and you had to walk in that old Giants stadium. They were on one end. It was only one tunnel that went up in there. They were on one end and we were on the other. And I remember walking out, and Larry Allen and Eric were right in front of me. And here come, I think it was Traylor and Strahan. And Eric Williams said, hey, he looked at him. He said, let me tell you something. You bop, 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 bop. I'm whipping your ass all night. He said, and you see this big sumbitch right here? He's whipping your boy's ass all night. And you know what they did? They went out there and whipped their ass all night. So you got to have a little bit of that.
Yeah. 100%. And you mentioned two of my favorite Cowboys of all time, Eric Williams and Darren Woodson. And I think two ends of the spectrum as far as off the field, right? Darren is like one of the smartest, most intelligent, one of the most thoughtful guys you'll ever meet. Like, just, like he's someone that, you'd love your daughter to bring home. It's just that kind of like super guy you'd hire at your business to run your business, right? Like Eric Williams is was a just absolute psychopath, right? But both of them, when they got on the field, they played like total crazy maniacs, right? And you need that. Like you need that.
It's team chemistry, right? Yeah. You got to have that certain amount of those kind of guys to put it all together. And I think that's where, I mean, in real time, that's why Jimmy Johnson, he was so good, because he could put a little bit of this and a little bit of that and some of this. And guess what? Then he could get on the right guy. If he, that was a damn nobody. He told, get over there to the asthma field. I mean, you had to have a little bit of all that. And then you had to have kind of that guy, that master that would stir it all up and get it right. And then that's how you get the good mix. And so hopefully that's, you get some of that going on. You got to have a little bit of, you got to have some edge to you. I'm all for, I'm a big fellowship of Christian athletes. I'm all for good guys, but I'm going to tell you something.
I agree.
When it comes to professional football, you got to have some guys that just soon punch you in the mouth, as they would say hello.
Yeah, I'm not going to be Captain Obvious here. It's a violent game, and that's part of it. I'm enjoying this conversation. I love those stories, Coach, by the way. So thank you for sharing those with us. And Landon, your points were spot on. I would just add to that, and I don't mean to keep saying this, but a big thing with me is you have George Pickens coming in telling the Cowboys, I don't want to do my contract now. I want to prove myself. I mean, you can't buy that kind of, in this day and age. It's usually always the other way around. Pay me first, or I'm not gonna play. And the fact that he wants to come in and prove himself to the Cowboys and to himself and to everybody else and all the people the naysayers that didn't like the way he handled himself in Pittsburgh. I mean, what a bonus. I mean, he's going to be motivated, fired up, edge, looking to get paid. I mean, it's awesome.
Well, and also he's going to be excited to be with the Cowboys.
And of course.
Here's the thing. Dak Prescott has a history of getting wide receivers paid a lot of money, right? And so the guy, Coach said it, and Coach was being very kind to call the carousel of quarterbacks in Pittsburgh as average or they were terrible. Like 34th grade quarterbacks out of 34 oftentimes, right? And then finally, they get Russell Wilson and some competency in there, and even then, it's a shell of himself, Russell Wilson. It's Justin Fields that is not worth kind of certainly rostering as your starting quarterback. So I think for him to come to with Dak, a guy who can get him targets, who can get him paid, I think this is a very symbiotic relationship for all sides, and that's why I think it's going to work. I can't promise what it's going to be like beyond this year, but I know this year he has to get paid. Dak is going to help him get paid. Dallas doesn't care if it's him getting paid here or him getting paid elsewhere, and then them recouping the comp pick and just reaping the rewards of all of his efforts this season. Either way, for this year alone, all parties are pointed in the right direction. After next season, I don't know how exactly this is all going to work out.
All right. Hey, take a really super quick timeout. We do have one player that is going to get paid eventually. We just don't know when. That, of course, is Micah Parsons, who Stephen Jones also spoke about. We'll give you the very latest on that. And the Cowboys did sign a player today. We'll tell you about that as well. Lots to get to, including your comments coming up. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. That is what we call a really quick break, and we love that. That's good. That means we get more time with you, right? Welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. The coach, Glenn Stretch Smith and Landon McCool. All right, so Stephen Jones spoke about George Pickens, and then the topic of the Micah Parsons extension came up during this interview. And Stephen said, quote, "I've never been one to crystal ball when contracts get done. I mean, you can be close. You think you're right around the corner, and then they get pushed out, and there's extenuating circumstances as to why they or their agent don't want to pull the trigger. So, that's just a work in progress. It's never easy to comment on them because you really don't know where you are until both sides are ready to go. But obviously our goal is to, and we have visited at times with Micah, and our goal is to get him here. And I think Micah wants to be a Cowboy, and we want him to be a Cowboy long term. So nothing really new or earth shattering there. It's just, we're going to keep bringing it up until it gets done, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a topic of conversation for everyone until it's finished, which, I think is part of the reason it's not finished, is that it continues to be a topic of conversation for them. So, I honestly, you and I talked about this on your show today, Coach, too, that this is not something I'm really concerned on whether it will get done. Obviously the details of the specifics there are going to be interesting, but I feel like it's just kind of a matter of time.
Yeah, I didn't say that on the show because some radio is a lot like wrestling. You can't just take it all the way. I'm from the school that this is done. I really believe that they have the parameters of a deal in place, 100%. And it's just. It really is. I believe it's crossing the T's and dotting the I's because I think Jerry and I just think Jerry and Micah have worked this out. And you're going to say, well, that's without the agent, whatever. I think the numbers are there. I think it's just a formality of getting the contract signed, and it keeps it in front of the news. I mean, that the one thing that, again, you can say what you want to about Jerry Jones. He can market. He can market. He can sell. I mean, he's a Zig Ziglar specialist at all that.
He knows how to keep his name in the news. That's for sure. And and I'll tell you, honestly, I think this is all just we got to wait long enough to make it look like David McCool did his job, because I do think that honestly, I'm pretty sure this is what we talked about on the first one of our squad shows we did together, right? Where it just felt like, Jerry and Micah worked all this out, a month ago. Micah's agent showed up, slapped Micah's hand and said, "What are you doing? Go tweet these words out right now," and then suddenly the whole Micah's contract situation just kind of quietly disappeared for this time. No one's talked about how there's been any progress or anything. And then I guarantee you, we're gonna wake up at some point. I don't know when it's gonna be. What do you think, Coach? Like August, probably. And they're gonna wake up and they're gonna make an announcement. It's gonna be done. And oh wow, it was like the having the baby without any of the pain, right? How did it happen so quickly? It's amazing. It seems contrived to me, and it's just that's why I'm just like, it's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah, I think this is just something that again is going to get done, and both sides know it. This isn't some dig around in the caramel corn and see what kind of surprise you got at the bottom. This is a done deal.
There's no contention here. Even like last year, there was like all kinds of stupid whispered campaigns about Dak, about CD, just to kind of like continue the drama here. But that honestly isn't even happening here. Like they made the announcement yesterday that Micah's leading like CD and some other folks in some podcast about the schedule release. They're clearly, everything's very good vibes, and Micah's going to be here long term. There's nothing that's indicating that a trade is happening or that Micah's not going to get a long term deal. I would need to be convinced if this was anything other than him waiting on a deal that's going to be announced soon.
I'm curious too. By waiting, there's also an opportunity to kind of make sure that he ends up being the highest paid guy, right? I mean,
it certainly doesn't hurt. It certainly, and if there's more deals to be followed, but I mean, I guess the question is like, they also probably are fully aware of who is next in line for those deals. Certainly the agent does. And so, they know probably about what those deals are going to fall in line with. So I don't think there's going to be there. I mean, just off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone that's going to fall that's, contract wise, that is really going to move the needle on Micah's deal. He's going to be the highest paid NFL defense. He's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Like, it doesn't, whatever that is, he's going to get it at the time of announcement. That's why I don't think the haggling on situations like this, it's not like the CD situation where there's another wide receiver who is equally as good, who is also a first rounder, who is also represented by the same agency, also getting a contract negotiation at the same time, and the two of them are playing the market off of each other. Like, this is a very clean cut deal, and if it's not done already, it'll be done in short order.
Were you going to say something, Coach? Or no? You good?
Yeah, I'm going to say something. I already told you it's a done deal.
Okay. Well, the Cowboys did sign a player today. They did agree to terms with 5th-round pick Jaden Blue, the running back out of Texas. He receives, according to reports, a 4-year deal worth $4.627 million with about a $427,000 signing bonus. The Cowboys already signed Tyler Booker, Savon Ravel, Shamar James, Johnny Cornelius, and Jay Toya. Is that? Did I get that right? Toa, that's right. Toa, thank you. I should know that. And Phil Maffa as well. So, really, Ezraku is the only one unsigned. He's the only one left.
That's correct.
Second-round pick.
That's correct. And you get. I mean, Jaden gets 18-4 guaranteed. That's great for him, and it's good for the Cowboys. These are all really slotted numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Right. I don't know what Ezraku is waiting on. I mean, maybe he's waiting on a new Hot Wheels car or something. I mean, they're all slotted in to where it's at. So
it's always the second rounders, Coach. And it's something about this last CBA and the offsetting language with second rounders specifically. But if you notice, it's always the second rounders who sign last in these deals. And I think it has to do with because Coach is right. Like, all of this is pre-slotted. So there's very little to actually negotiate at all. In fact, the only thing that there is to negotiate, as far as I understand, is the offsetting language that happens if, for say, he gets cut and signed by another team. Will he also get to recoup the previous money from his first team, as well as getting the new money?
It's a guaranteed deal, right? They want guaranteed money.
Yep, exactly. So it's not even a big deal, but that is always why it's the second rounder, is because I think they have the most wiggle room for negotiation because of the offsetting language.
Yeah, and used to the only fully guaranteed guys were those 12, 15 picks, and now you're seeing Jaden Blue gets guaranteed money. So I think that's where guys kind of start trying to fish for words or try to get themselves in position, and then other guys want a little better kick that to the front of the signing bonus and get a little more money up front. So
I saw a deal with somebody an outside of the first round player. God, I can't remember who it is, but someone else.
I think it was the Iowa State receiver, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It was Higgins, right? Who got the fully guaranteed deal, which I was like, I couldn't believe. Like that might be the future with some of these deals. It's crazy.
Well, it just takes one, right?
That's right.
That's all it takes.
I'm waiting for the first completely fully guaranteed quarterback contract. I mean,
Kirk's is pretty close, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's close, but I think I wouldn't be shocked if the next one of these is just that becomes the new norm with these quarterback deals.
And Deshaun Watson too, pretty close.
Watson was close too,
yeah.
But I mean, if anything, the Watson deal set it back a few years because it was such
exactly.
So I think it might be coming back though.
Coach, real quick, one quick coaching question. Of course, they had to put in the Jaden Blue story about the fumbles. He had 5 last season. From a coaching standpoint, how much can somebody improve on getting better at not fumbling? Seriously.
Well, the reason too, a lot of it is, because there's so much thud drill going on right now. I mean, it's not as physical as it used to be. Well, guys are now getting to where instead of really coming up and wrapping up, if somebody's got him wrapped up, what's number 2 doing when he comes to the play? He's going to peanut punch the football out of there. I mean, they're going to. So you start doing it in individual drills. You would have a guy with it's about a 4-inch broom handle. He's got a boxing glove kind of wrapped up. And he's punching, and there's multiple guys trying to get the ball out. I've seen all kinds of little tricks. Like I used to see guys that would fill a football up halfway with water because, you didn't want that water to really slosh around. I've seen guys that play with the grip of the football, that here's my football here. You'd put it in between your hands like that. It's how you carry it versus putting your finger down on the tip of it. So there's all kinds of little different things that you can do. But I really believe that you start with right off the bat. We're not going to talk, and I wouldn't. If I was in that meeting room, I wouldn't talk about that anymore. I mean, we're done talking about putting the ball on the ground. Let me tell you something. What we don't do here is put it on the ground. We don't put it on the ground. And that's what I would say. And then every drill that I had would involve somebody punching at the ball or, have, like I said, have that stick that's going at it. And we want to be going at the football. And I'd be challenging. I'd be talking noise. I'd be challenging the defense and telling them, we don't fumble the damn ball around here. It's just, you kind of create your own environment. You create your own sense of urgency with it. And then, you're talking constantly and you're pumping him up about it. Hey, how many days in a row has it been since we put a ball on the ground? And I'm talking about individual anytime. It's a mental mind thing to me that guys fumble the ball because they think they should fumble the ball. I'm opposite of that. You know what? We're not going to fumble it. And I think one of the things that, always stood out to me about Aikman, and I'll never forget this, is that when he went to Oklahoma, I was just coming in as a graduate assistant, and Bobby Proctor, who's a defensive back coach at Oklahoma, would get so pissed off, and he's a boisterous guy, great coach. But they, Troy, when he first got there, he was the scout team guy, and they want you to throw the ball. When you're the scout team guy, they want you to throw the ball to a specific place. And Troy told them, "I'm not throwing interceptions. I'm not throwing interceptions in your drill. I don't give a damn if you want me to throw it or not." And I think it's a mindset. So that's what you go with. You know what? Don't talk about fumbling the football. Let's work on it. And we're not going to talk about it anymore.
I like that. That's awesome. I love Troy.
I'll send you another invoice from my coaching class.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we're going to take our one final quick timeout, and then we'll wrap things up with comments and one other little Cowboys note from today. We'll do that when we come back. This is the Cowboys Squad Show on a Monday night. All right, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. The coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, Landon McCool, the co-host of the daily Cowboys Locked On podcast show. All right, let's get some of these comments in really quick. We have time. We're good. Yeah. Guadalupe Chavaria says, do we really need nose tackle DJ Reader?
I think I read a story earlier today that some think that he might be a cap casualty. He plays for the Lions. He's a nose tackle,
right?
The Tyleik Williams was one of the picks that the Lions had in I think the second round. I mean, folks who have listened to the show for a long time know that I am a huge DJ Reader fan. Like, I've been a fan of his since.
I bet that's why he asked.
Maybe. You. Well, maybe, I don't know. But I'm sure people are writing stories about him going to the Cowboys. That's probably more likely. But yeah, I mean, I loved him at Clemson. That's how long the Cowboys have been, hunting big defensive tackles. Is however long this guy's been in the league, which is almost 10 years now, I think. I love like those kind of big body guys, and I feel like Reeder came out and could provide you a little bit more. He's a little bit better mover than kind of the typical big body nose. And I think if he's available, if he actually does end up getting cut or released by the Lions, look, I think nose tackle is one of the positions that the Cowboys probably could still use one more body for sure. But like we've discussed, I don't know that most nose tackles are interested in joining a team in May or in June or July. They usually wait till later in August when training camp is finished, and they don't have to show up. But in this case, DJ Reeder is, he's a higher class of those guys than the off the street, veteran gun for hire nose tackle that you would normally sign. DJ Reeder actually kind of moves the needle a little bit for me. So yeah, I certainly would be interested if he's available. But I mean, the particulars there are obviously important.
I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of front they play. I mean, are they an odd front team where you lining up somebody in a true nose guard position? I mean, I think all of those things are, and quite frankly, I think all of that depends on what kind of personnel you have. If you don't have, those guys, which I really thought maybe that's what they were doing in, drafting the UCLA defensive tackle and the Maryland defensive tackle, is just get big squared stance bodies in there and see what you have. And if you don't have that, then you can always, in my mind, you can always go back to being an even front team, which is where you leave the center uncovered. And you can go back to an even front team, but you got to have, in order to be a true odd front team, you got to have 350-pound guys that are just going to go down in there and all they do is play double team blocks. That's all they do. So I think they're probably still looking at what they have from a personnel standpoint before they decide, are we a 30 front team? Are we an odd team? Or are we going to be an even front team?
I mean, I would imagine they would probably be an even front team, but you're not wrong. Either way, I would imagine that they are going to play a guy either if it's an odd front, head up on the center. If it's an even front, we've seen in the past that Flus likes to use kind of that tilt nose, right? Like that's like not lined up over the nose, but still angled at him, in the one. So yeah,
I'm talking regular down and distance situations. I'm not talking about nickel situations where it's third, and again, I think it depends on what personnel, which, 80% of the time the league's in 11 personnel right now, which is one back and one tight end. So, it just depends on, again, personnel wise. And then it depends on, a down and distance situation. Sure. I agree. I mean, if you're in a nickel situation, certainly it makes the most sense to line up in an even front.
Well, we've even seen those like mint tight fronts where they're running nickel in 3-man fronts, right? And so like absolutely. I mean, I think it depends on down distance. It depends on the personnel that you're playing. I think a guy like, and to be clear, I like DJ Reeder. So that's why I'm interested in him if he gets released. But I don't think that the Cowboys necessarily should be going out and signing a nose or a defensive tackle that's available right now. Like, I don't feel like there's a need for that currently, because I view the defensive tackle position much like, specifically the nose tackle position, much like the running back position, where I feel like you can get those guys whenever you need them. It's probably worth seeing what you've got in the young guys first, unless there's a guy who you feel like actually moves the needle for the room. And for me personally, I think that DJ Reeder is that guy. If he was available, the money was right, but at the same time, like, I don't know that the money was right. I don't know that he's available. Like, these are.
It's not any different. Yeah, it's not any different what Mike Zimmer did bringing Linval Joseph in here. Sure. I mean, they needed some bigger bodies inside.
Yeah, I think he has a little bit more pass rush than that. But your point is definitely taken.
I'm not grading the two guys. I'm talking about position. A thicker, a thicker bodied guy who can play a double team block versus, when you had so many of the Rod Marinelli staggered stance guys.
They weren't doing that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, they were all getting upfield and just trying to get upfield. Yeah, and I'm glad that we've kind of gone back to this type of nose tackle, because clearly it's been a problem for obviously our run defense, but specifically our linebackers. I mean, just our linebackers are constantly having big bodies on them and unable to run to the ball. And beyond that too, it's one thing to do that and then have bigger linebackers who can take on blocks and, discard blocks. But we had a bunch of guys who, were better at trying to run around blocks, and it just doesn't work. Like, they needed to be kept clean. So it's good to see that, and especially guys like Overshown now. I'm not asking Overshown to engage with the guard on a regular basis and try to, disengage and get to make a tackle. I want him to stay clean and run to the football. And let the big bodies take care of the big bodies.
Well, hopefully you're not letting the guard get to the second.
That's what. Yeah, exactly my point.
That's why you want a bigger guy. But I know what you're saying. I mean, since Vander Esch, they haven't had that guy that's a true, what you would consider a true box player, a true downhill linebacker. And you say what you want. Reason Marinelli was successful is because he had Urlacher. He had some big bucks that they could go after. So it's about personnel, and it's about having the right personnel to fit the right scheme.
Even Vander Esch was a rip and run guy a lot, I think Rolando McClain, those guys, you need special athletes who are big and could run, but still physically powerful enough. Like
Jihad Campbell.
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. It takes a special kind of guy to do that, to play that specific middle linebacker in those schemes. You're asked to do a ton. It's really hard.
All right. McLean Clay says, what number is Pickens wearing? Well, as far as I know, he doesn't have a number yet. His jersey is selling with double zeros right now, but I don't think he's had a number.
He was 14. He was 14 with Pittsburgh, and that's Bell's number currently. So I don't know if he's gonna drop a whole bunch of cash in Bell's locker room and say, "Hey, give me that number."
Right.
But we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. All right. All gas on breaks 85 says, we win this first game. Dak is an Eagle killer. And then he asks, how many wins, in your opinion, will the Cowboys get this year?
I think it's all gas, no break.
All gas. Yeah, though. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. See, I can read.
Listen, Dak is. I love it too, Coach. Dak is an Eagles killer. He's been brutal against the NFC East. His record's incredible. It's about him playing in the games, right? Him playing against these teams. And obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. Hopefully, that isn't a problem for Week 1. I'm knocking on wood if everyone hear it. That he's going to be playing in Week 1. So we'll see on the long run. But if you get a healthy Dak with this offense, I don't know what Vegas is saying nowadays, but I would say 10 wins. Yeah.
I think 10.
That seems reasonable, even with a tough schedule.
I like it. Hell, Jeff, go out there and get your pocket full of them out there in Vegas. They'll take it, brother. I promise you.
I didn't know I was going to bet.
They have those. They have those. There's little bars up there on the windows. Just
don't bet your pitching on my call. Look, I'm just a guy making comments on the internet, for God's sakes. Right?
I'll give you a horse in the Preakness. Piss on this over and under number business with the Cowboys.
Well, no, I was thinking about it. I was trying to think, okay, 7-10 a year ago, you hope this team will be better than they were and good enough to hopefully win 3 more games than they did last season when they really had no offense at all and still finished better than I think we thought. So that's why I thought 10. I think 10 is realistic.
I think I did an exercise. I was on the NFL Squad show. I think it was 2 nights ago, and we were doing. All the Locked On hosts did like a power ranking of the NFL teams, and I'll tell you what. Once I got past 5. It was tough. It was really hard. Just there aren't a lot of overwhelmingly great teams. You know, there's a couple of teams at the top that look really, really good, that are well balanced, have all the kind of key elements that you want. But if you're looking for teams that have solid foundations, that are covered at tackle, pass rusher, cornerback, wide receiver, and quarterback, like there just aren't a ton of teams there, right? Like I think with the Cowboys, we're constantly haggling over the edges a lot. And I think we lose sight of the fact that the foundation here is pretty solid to win games in the regular season. Now, that remains to be seen how that translates into the playoffs. I think that's what a lot of these moves were about, is becoming a more durable, resilient team as the season goes on, more run-centric team, more options for Dak and to help. But I think as far as winning games in the regular season, I think this team is built to win games. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if they were I wouldn't be shocked if they won 12 games this year. I mean, in the regular season. But again, all bets are off once we get in the playoffs. I think that's the thing we've learned with this team.
Yeah,
that they know how to win games, on the road, at home. They've done it both ways with this group.
Yeah,
it's about getting in the playoffs and winning. But if we're talking about regular season wins, I feel like pretty good chance that this team could do to make some noise.
What's it going to take to win the East?
No. Maybe. I mean, it depends on how the Eagles.
But I'm saying, do you think 12 wins? Does 12-5 win the East?
Oh, I think it could. Yeah. I mean, it's possible the Eagles win 13 games. I mean, I think it's a tough thing to kind of come out and go have the season the Eagles did, and then come out and have same sort of injury luck and be the hunted now, right? You're the number one team. You're the team that everyone's coming after. It's a hangover. There's a hangover aspect to it, but I certainly think that it's possible with a good defense and a good run game, which is what the Eagles are built on, that they can come back out and replicate that again this year.
All right, guys. Well, this show flew by way too fast, but we will do it again. We'll do it again on Thursday with Marcus Mosher and, of course, the coach, and Landon. We'll do it again next week. Want to thank everybody that jumped in, though. Forever DC, Mike Glenn, thank you for the kind words. Tijo03 and Mem10, thank you guys. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Thank you to everybody for watching. Some final thoughts, guys, before we go? Anything you wanted to get?
No, I think I'm excited to see exactly how this all kind of unfolds once we get into OTAs. I'm very much in wait and see mode at this point, so I'm learning a little bit more about these undrafted free agents, and then I'm excited to kind of see exactly what we've got on this roster so far.
All right,
I'm trying to figure out how the Mavericks at a 1.8% shot. I want to see how they rigged that ping pong ball. We got to figure it out. We can hit the lottery for crying out.
Is that what it was? 1.8%? That was
1.8.
Wow.
1.8.
Wow.
Nuts. Go nuts, Mavs fans. Congratulations.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Yeah.
This envelope is crazy.
Can you say RIG?
All right. Well, one little tease, Coach, when we're back on Thursday morning, we'll be able to talk about the full Cowboys schedule for the regular season. So that will be fun. We'll look forward to that. All right, guys, a pleasure. Enjoyed it very much. Until next time, thank you to Landon McCool, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. I'm Jeff Biggs. We'll be back with you again on Thursday. This has been the Cowboys Squad Show.